Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. As it turns out, Elon might get his 2018 pay package after all, the one that's worth today roughly $100 billion. A law firm that represents Tesla and Elon has written proposed legislation that would alter Delaware corporate law. However, this is not just any law firm, this is Richards, Layton and Finger. I know that right now that likely means nothing to most of you. Just know RLF is Delaware's biggest law firm with a pretty stellar reputation. Similar to how Tesla is the go-to company for electric vehicles, well, RLF is the go-to law firm in Delaware. So their proposed legislation would amend Delaware General Corporation Law and, if adopted, could pave the way for Elon to get his pay package. The president of RLF said statutory changes are necessary to restore the core principles that have been the hallmark of Delaware for over a century and ensure that Delaware remains the preeminent jurisdiction for incorporation. It's not hard to understand why this law firm would do this. If more companies continue to leave Delaware, that's going to be bad for business. But the $100 billion question, at least for Tesla, what are the chances that this bill will actually be passed? Luckily for Elon and Tesla, there seems to be broad support behind this bill so far. In terms of the sponsors listed, we have at least 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, so support on both sides of the aisle. Matt Meyer, the new governor of Delaware, has already endorsed this bill, so any concerns about a veto should be off the table. The primary sponsor of this bill, Brian Townsend, has already expressed his desire to fast-track the progress of this bill. And in an unusual turn of events, the State Bar Association was actually bypassed for the consulting process, which tells us they're trying to expedite the process. And I can't overstate how important it is for Delaware to stop the exodus of companies from the state. Listen to this. Incorporation fees and related legal activity generates roughly $2 billion every year for the state, which is about 40% of the state's budget. Based on all of the information I can find right now, it seems like this bill actually has a legitimate chance of ultimately being passed. And under this proposed legislation, Elon would no longer be considered a controller of Tesla, meaning transactions that involve self-dealing with controllers or directors would be subject to less review than they are now. In this bill, there's also a new fairness test to help evaluate transactions, which, yes, includes executive compensation. This test would determine 1, whether the act actually benefits the corporation, and 2, if its terms are comparable to those in an arm's length negotiation, which in layman's terms is a deal that's not with friends or family, so no special rates. Further, this bill would strengthen the legal weight of shareholder ratification, which would make it harder for courts to overturn decisions that are approved by a majority of shareholders. There is one thing that needs to be abundantly clear. This bill does not apply directly to Elon's case, as this bill would not be retroactive in nature. And while I'm not a lawyer, I have been reading about this quite extensively, and I do think that this bill could impact Tesla's appeal. It's really not hard to see the way the winds are now blowing in Delaware, so there's a chance that the Supreme Court justices are going to be swayed by this bill and some of the commentary from the governor and other business leaders over the past few weeks. However, when push comes to shove, I do think the Delaware Supreme Court will decide Elon and Tesla's appeal based on the law as it stands and Judge McCormick's findings of fact. And the 2 main facts working against Tesla right now, the board's lack of independence and a flawed negotiation process. 2 points that this bill does not directly address. And for whatever it's worth, Brian Townsend, the sponsor of this bill, did say that it has nothing to do with Elon, which, in my opinion, is a lie, but it's what he said. In summary, I do think there's a good chance this bill does ultimately get approved. There seems to be a lot of support behind it, and Delaware definitely needs to do something about companies planning to leave. However, given that this bill is not retroactive, it may not actually have a tangible impact on Elon and Tesla's case, specifically the appeal to the Supreme Court. Again, the Supreme Court justices, of which there are 5 in Delaware, are likely to make a ruling based on the law as it stands. However, is there a chance that the conversations behind closed doors are nudging them in a certain direction to actually stop the bleeding sooner and do the right thing for Elon and actually overturn Judge McCormick's ruling on Elon's pay package? Because as I said, that's clearly the way the winds are blowing, but the question becomes, is that going to be enough, or is it too little too late, at least when it comes to Elon and Tesla and this appeal? So we will likely still be waiting until the second half of this year to get a resolution to this case, but Senate Bill 21 is most certainly more supportive of Team Elon and Team Tesla than it is of maintaining the status quo, no matter what the sponsors are saying publicly. Whenever FSD is approved in China, Ashley and I would love to visit Shanghai to test it out and explore. Ashley's dad had quite the spiritual experience in Shanghai years ago, and Ashley has wanted to visit ever since. Fun fact about Ashley and I, we love to fly and we love to travel, but we have learned some lessons the hard way when it comes to staying connected, and I want to save some of you from those same mistakes. Beware of roaming fees. Beware of SIM card lines at airports. Beware of SIM card scams. The list goes on, but the easiest way we found to save money, stay connected, and protect yourself when traveling is with Saily, the sponsor of this video. Saily is an eSIM service app with plans in 180 countries and 8 regions all around the world. What's an eSIM, you ask? Well, it functions just like a physical SIM card you would put in your phone or any device, but it's virtual. Let's say Ash and I wanted to go from Shanghai to Berlin to visit Giga Berlin. Rather than needing to wait in line to swap out a new physical SIM card, with Saily, you just press a button and you'll instantly have access to a local data plan with the most affordable rates wherever you are around the world. You can remove any concerns about physical SIM scams, and once you have the Saily app downloaded, you can have access to multiple SIMs at the same time. I need to have access to the internet for work wherever we go, and I always want to stay in touch with friends and family without thinking about how much it's going to cost us when we get home. Even if you don't have any travel plans now, you can still download the app for when the time comes, and just save a note so you remember my code is Electrified to use at checkout to get an exclusive 15% discount on Saily data plans. So you can just download the app or head to saily.com/electrified linked below. Cheers to safe, stress-free travels. When it comes to Grok 3, Siobhan Zillis was talking about testing out the voice mode in the early beta stage, and Elon said voice mode is still a little patchy, so probably launches in about a week, but it's awesome. I'm not just sharing this because I still hope Tesla makes an investment in XAI, but we're supposed to get Grok in Tesla vehicles. And some of you may remember the one feature I would be most excited about is this right here, voice mode for Grok, both for dictating input and hearing the answers. Siobhan said she had an hour-long back and forth conversation with Ara from Grok 3 about a bunch of scientific topics. It's still unclear when Grok may come to your Tesla vehicle, so for now, we'll just say soon. TM. We're not going to dive into the weeds here, but I think it's important to keep tabs on XAI. When it comes to compute, they have increased their supercomputer in Memphis to 200,000 GPUs. It only took XAI 122 days to get to 100,000 GPUs fully training synchronously from scratch. And then they doubled that number to 200,000 GPUs in an additional 92 days. And remember, Elon said the next phase for this supercomputer in Memphis is 1 million GPUs, which is a 5x from where they're at today. And what do we know about the energy draw for this Colossus supercomputer? Well, it's buffered by Tesla Megapacks to handle the power swings. So a 5x in compute at Colossus will likely lead to more Tesla Megapacks. However, I think the biggest deal here is the expertise that XAI and the engineers are learning from doing things at a scale that's never really been done. And you better believe all of those learnings will trickle down to Tesla and its Cortex supercomputer. From my perspective, hopefully there's eventually a more tangible connection between Tesla and XAI, not just Grok in Tesla vehicles, but a Tesla investment in XAI, so Tesla shareholders can have direct exposure to everything that XAI is undoubtedly going to do over the next decade. And if you missed it, as Stephen Mark Ryan pointed out, the shirt Elon was wearing had Melania on it from the video game Elden Ring, who's known for the famous words, "I have never known defeat." leaked. And finally, when it comes to benchmarks for LLM, personally, I don't really care about those numbers. Obviously, I know why they're important, but I just want to know which tool will give me the best, most accurate answer. Andre Karpathy shared a lengthy post talking about his initial vibe check with Grok 3. I'll have it linked below if you want the detail. But his summary, Grok 3 plus thinking feels somewhere around the state-of-the-art territory of OpenAI's strongest models and slightly better than DeepSeek R1 and Gemini 2.0 flash thinking, which is quite incredible considering the team started from scratch around 1 year ago. This timescale to state-of-the-art territory is unprecedented. So yet again, we have Elon and one of his teams doing something that's never been done before. How anybody can bet against this man and all of the top tier talent that he attracts will forever be beyond me. There's been a lawsuit out there against Tesla filed by Granite Vehicle Ventures LLC. They've been accusing Tesla of directly infringing upon 3 different patents when it comes to self-driving vehicles. A few days ago, Tesla filed a motion urging a federal judge to axe the majority of this lawsuit. Tesla argued in the motion that the claims from Granite Vehicle Ventures should be dismissed because the firm failed to plead any facts whatsoever to allege infringement. Tesla also moved to transfer the suit to a California federal court, as right now this case is in Texas. I'm not going to get over my skis here and start talking about patent law and what I think will happen. However, the most interesting thing I found, in its motion, Tesla is only arguing for dismissal related to claims of 2 patents where there are 3 under question. Which for that 1 patent might mean that Tesla thinks Granite Vehicle Ventures had actually provided sufficient factual allegations, or Tesla has a different strategy to address that claim. Just so you know, the situation around the 1 patent that Tesla is not challenging right now is titled Power Distribution System for EVs. So this Granite company is arguing that Tesla's battery and power management systems actually rely on tech that Granite owns. Again, not a lawyer, but I think the most likely outcome would be that Tesla is choosing to fight that final claim later, maybe after discovery, when it gets more information to actually build a defense. But for now, Tesla feels confident in winning a dismissal when it comes to the allegations for 2 of the 3 patents in question. I'll leave it there for now, but I'm sure we'll hear more about this in the weeks ahead. A Spanish power producer, Zelestra, has signed a power purchase agreement, or a PPA, with Tesla. So Tesla will be buying 57 megawatts of capacity from Zelestra's upcoming solar projects. The reason I'm bringing this up is because this is becoming a trend for Tesla. Rather than building out their own solar farms, they seem to be entering into more of these PPAs. Zelestra did not say specifically where Tesla would use this clean energy, but they said we're excited about this agreement with Tesla, which will allow us to supply clean energy to the auto industry. Obviously, from Tesla's perspective, entering into these PPAs transfers the risks with deploying these solar projects and maintaining them to other companies so Tesla can focus on its core business. And this way, Tesla gets easy access to renewable energy anywhere in the world without having to deal with local regulations. Just last week, a new solar plant came online for Invenergy in Texas, and Tesla signed a 100 megawatt offtake agreement from this project. So yeah, would it be great to see Tesla deploying a lot more solar around the world? Yes, but Tesla knows the future is FSD and Optimus. Max from Tesla's supercharging team said, "This is really amazing." That was a quote from his wife, a previous self-driving skeptic, after a 3-hour door-to-door drive on 13.2.7. He said, "Autonomy is here, and it'll have a profound effect on safety, cost per mile, EV ownership, and happiness." On that note, we have FSD 13.2.8 now rolling out to AI for vehicles, and 12.6.4 going out to hardware 3. Ben Costa, who works at recruiting at Tesla, said, "We're looking to hire vehicle operators for our autopilot team in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to advance toward unsupervised FSD." So if you know anybody looking for work in the area, there you go. On that release, AI Driver said, "Wow, truly one incredible moment after another using 13.2.8. I think they relaxed the driver monitoring too." I know that second point may be a bit controversial, but I know most of us are also pleased to hear that, if true. I thought this was a hilarious clip that Eric courageously shared of 13.2.7, just highlighting some of the challenges when it comes to snowy environments.
Huh. Okay. Well, this is different. It's driving onto the lawn. Okay, it's driving on the front lawn. Huh. Interesting. Okay, that's one way of getting out of the house. We're gonna have to save that because
Now turn right onto Country Place.
that's just funny.
On that one, before anybody loses their mind, just know the ground was frozen, so no damage was done. Their yard will be fine. But at the same time, obviously, I understand why people would argue Eric should have disengaged and not allowed that to happen. But in his defense, I do understand the impulse of letting the technology play itself out to see what happens. And of course, always safety first. But in this case, nobody was really in danger. Here we have another clip that for some reason became controversial, 13.2.7 from AI driver using the middle lane to make an unprotected left turn, which is a maneuver that many human drivers won't even think about attempting. And again, before you get upset, AI driver clarified where he's at. The law says this is a legal maneuver as long as you get out of that center lane within 100 feet. And here we have a not so great clip from the robotaxi driver on 13.2.7. As always, the question becomes how would the car have behaved if there were vehicles coming the other way? But either way, this is clearly something that needs to be fixed. If you haven't seen it already, on the Tesla careers page, you will find over 10 job postings for Mumbai in India. So maybe this is finally the time that Tesla actually follows through with entry into the Indian market. Positions like inside sales advisor, consumer engagement manager, store manager, service techs, parts advisor, and the list goes on. As we've covered the past few years, Tesla has been trying to get the high import duties reduced in India, and earlier this month, India did just that, reducing basic customs on cars above $40,000 from 110% down to 70%. Just don't forget, back in 2021, Tesla had a bunch of activity setting up sales infrastructure in India, and they had a team of over a dozen executives. At the time, Tesla hired a lobbyist to lead negotiations with the Indian government when it comes to those import tariffs. The last bit of important context, last year the Indian government offered lower tariffs of 15% for imports of electric cars above $40,000 if the car maker committed to investing $500 million in India to begin local manufacturing in 3 years. So we don't have any detail now, but I would say there's a chance that maybe Tesla would commit to building the next Megapack factory in India, and there's a world where that could qualify them for those lower import tariffs of 15%. Over the past few years, India has been making a huge push toward renewable energy. India does have competitive labor costs, and there's a good chance the Indian government would offer Tesla nice incentives through their Made in India strategy. Plus, parts of India's power grid has been known to have problems with reliability. And to put a number on it, India's aiming for 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel energy by 2030. And listen, there's plenty of people that erroneously talk about how massive the Indian auto market is, and yes, by numbers, but you have to remember most of those numbers are skewed toward more affordable vehicles. The data you'll find may vary, but for Tesla's target market, vehicles right now at least above around $50,000, that market's only about 50,000 units per year. And remember, Tesla's going to face some percentage of import tariffs. We just don't know what the number will be. And yes, I know Tesla's supposed to have a more affordable vehicle coming, so let's say they can offer that for $25,000, $30,000. Maybe that takes the total addressable market for that range in India to call it 750,000 vehicles. Then, if over time Tesla can carve out a 30% market share, that would be roughly 225,000 incremental sales for Tesla per year from the Indian market. A Dutch energy firm, Return, is planning on building a 1.4 gigawatt battery storage facility by 2027, and yes, they've chosen to use Tesla Megapacks for the project. It'll be the Netherlands' largest such project to date, and it'll use 372 Tesla Megapacks. I will say, if the 372 number is accurate, this should likely be 1.4 gigawatt hours. That's because each Tesla Megapack has about 4 megawatt hours of storage capacity. Because if it really was 1.4 gigawatts of power, that would likely be over 5 gigawatt hours of storage capacity, which would require a lot more than 372 Megapacks. With that said, this is likely to be over a $350 million contract for Tesla. Production of the new Model Y has officially started at Giga Shanghai, and first deliveries have been moved up from March to late February. The Tesla China weekly number came in at 7,500. Comparing that to the same week in quarter 4, that number was 17,100, so quarter over quarter, we're down 40%. But again, Q1 compared to Q4 is foolish inherently. Comparing to the same week in Q1 last year, that number was 2,600 during a holiday. So year over year, Tesla China is now down 6.5%. The breakdown for the week: 6,100 Model 3s, 1,400 Model Ys. I'll sound like a broken record for all of quarter 1, but that's okay. Even if there's one new viewer, these numbers will be depressed thanks to the changeover to the new Model Y. In another lawsuit situation, a judge denied Tesla's request to block this company, Matthews International, from selling its dry battery electrode technology. Tesla filed a lawsuit against this company June of last year, and Tesla alleged the manufacturing equipment supplier stole trade secrets related to Tesla's DBE and shared it with competitors. Tesla was arguing for damages, which it conservatively estimated would exceed $1 billion. However, this judge, Edward Davila, said that his ruling is based on Matthews' claim that its DBE tech predates Tesla's existence. Following this decision, Tesla has filed multiple lawsuits against Matthews. This Matthews company does all kinds of different things, but it's their industrial tech division that's responsible for this DBE. I was not able to find anything specifically about this company's DBE sales, but I did find that their industrial tech segment, which includes the DBE portion, did about $92 million in revenue for quarter 4 of last year, although they have a different fiscal calendar. And interestingly enough, Tesla has actually been a key customer for Matthews over the years, as Tesla has collaborated with Matthews on DBE. So for now, what this ruling means for this Matthews company is that they will be able to diversify its customer base for DBE tech beyond just Tesla. And Matthews has said it intends to immediately resume marketing, selling, and delivering its DBE products to other customers in the growing EV market. And I would guess they may target battery storage as well, as Matthews does have an energy division that focuses on energy storage. So for now, it's not clear what type of scale Matthews will be capable of for DBE tech, but we'll certainly keep an eye on this name in the months ahead. It is interesting timing because remember, as of 2026, Tesla has plans to introduce 4 different variants of dry cathode 4680 cells, which are supposed to be used in multiple different vehicles. As Marco highlighted, Tesla's first public semi-charger station is coming soon to South Los Angeles County, California. Permits were recently filed for the addition of 12 charging stalls for Tesla's Class 8 semis. The site will also feature a 1,600 square foot amenity building with a lounge, vending machines, and restrooms, and parking for staff. Dan Priestley, the head of Tesla's semi program, responded to this post with the eyeballs. BYD has now signed contracts with the Saudi electricity company for over 15 gigawatt hours of battery storage projects. If you're wondering why not Tesla, well, Saudi has been deepening its ties with China, which is a major trading partner for them as part of their Vision 2030 strategy. And we can't forget the Saudi Public Investment Fund invested $2 billion in Tesla back around 2018, but ended up selling most of that stake by 2023 after Elon denied that privatization deal. But zooming out, this is obviously a major win for fans of renewable energy. Mary Barra has said about 20% of roughly 18,000 customers with Super Cruise in their cars subscribed to keep using it after their 3-year trial ended in 2024. She said GM is targeting nearly $2 billion in total annual revenue from the system within 5 years. I'll be frank though, for me, Mary's predictions are worth nothing. When it comes to the protests against Tesla over the weekend, I'm not ignoring it. I just think ultimately this will be a major nothing burger, as most of these protests did not involve that many people. In what may come as a surprise to some, Tesla's Cybertruck has finally received its official safety rating from NHTSA. And overall, it received a 5-star rating. This rating does apply to both the 2024 and 2025 variants. According to NHTSA, the Cybertruck excelled in all of the following categories: the frontal crash test, the side crash tests, and the rollover resistance. So, just like other Tesla vehicles, the Cybertruck boasted the lowest overall probability of injury and the lowest chance of rollover among all pickup trucks tested by NHTSA. As we've said all along, Tesla doesn't make any vehicle that's not going to be one of the safest, if not the safest, on the road. Tesla stock closed the day at $354.11, down 0.49%, while the Nasdaq was up 0.07%. It was a low volume day, trading about 31% below the average. Don't forget, check out Saley linked below. Even if you don't have any travel coming up, there's no harm in downloading the app for when that time comes, and just save my code for that 15% off. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.